Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast where you'll learn how to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit. No influencer status necessary. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and we're currently in a series about promoting your summit. Today in episode 39, I'm so excited to bring in a guest to talk about growing your summit through Pinterest. And in this episode, we're going to cover what your funnel on Pinterest should look like for your summit, and it's not going to be what you expect, using promoted pins to increase summit registrations, and mistakes to avoid when promoting your summit on Pinterest. To give you some background information on our guest, she's been using Pinterest for almost 10 years and helps business owners generate more leads and sales using Pinterest marketing and promoted pins. As of recording this, I have never promoted a summit on Pinterest, and I know a lot of you listening are right there with me. So let's dive in and chat with Meagan Williamson. Welcome, Meagan. I am so excited to have you on today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
We have so much good stuff we're going to cover, and I am going to learn a ton. I have my pen out, my notebook out. I'm ready to take notes. But before we dive into the good stuff, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Sure. So I have been using Pinterest. Well, we're coming up on the 10-year mark or 9-year mark, 10 or 9 years, a while. I've been on it for a long time. I was an early adopter of Pinterest, and I started using Pinterest for my blogging business at the time. So I am an OG decor and DIY blogger. I've been doing it when blogging wasn't easy and you had to learn how to code. And I was an early adopter of Pinterest and have always loved it. It was like the perfect solution for me. I got sick of having folders on my laptop of all the pictures that I loved for inspiration for blog posts and my own home and my own life. So when Pinterest rolled out, I was like, oh my God, this is like my favorite thing in the whole wide world. So from day one, I always used Pinterest, I think like a normal person. And because of that, I grew a very large following on Pinterest. I have over 120,000 followers. And because I was doing influencer work, companies and brands started approaching me about 5 years ago saying like, hey, we noticed that you have this huge Pinterest account. You seem to know what you're doing. Could you help us do that? And at the time, I was still working full-time as a school psychologist. I'm a trained school and child psychologist here in Canada. And at the time, I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, maybe I can help you, but like, let me figure it out first. So I started playing around. I started playing around with what worked for on Pinterest with other businesses. So instead of just saying, well, this is what worked for me, I started sort of pursuing my knowledge and expanding my expertise around knowing what worked for everybody. Because what works for an online entrepreneur is very different than somebody who is a full-time blogger versus somebody who does has a podcast or does summits, or there's all these different niches. And I didn't feel comfortable saying, oh yeah, this like one thing is going to work for everybody. And I caution people that if someone tells you that, remember that this is really a platform where it isn't one size fits all, just like all marketing, right? You have to tweak it for your own business and what works for you. And so from that, honestly, like just before when I was like 7 months pregnant, which is crazy. I was about to take my mat leave. I took on 2 corporate clients thinking, oh, I'm going to be home bored with a newborn. Sure, I'll do some like side work. And next thing I knew, my son was 5 months old. I had inquiries out the wazoo. And I said to my husband, like, there is a lot of potential here. I think that I love doing this. It's so creative. I feel like I'm helping business owners. I think you need to leave your job so that you can help me with Kieran. That's our son. And at the time he was 6 months old. So James took a leave and he quit his job and he takes care of our son full time. And he started helping me so that I could scale my business, and the rest was history. So I've been providing Pinterest consultation and strategy to brands and businesses, and from solopreneurs all the way up to global brands for 3 years. My son is going to be 3 years in December. But then I also support small business owners through other services that I have, learning and workshops. So yeah, it's sort of been a wild ride.
Holy smokes. It was like an accident. And you like retired your husband, had a baby, scaled this thing.
Totally. Well, and I did it when I had a little baby, because I think that was the way that I felt comfortable, that I kind of said like, let's take this crazy risk. And if it flops, no big deal. Like I go back to my regular job that I love. Our son, we get a nanny, or you go back to your job and we'll figure it out. And the thing was, it was like actually like, no, oh my goodness, I need team members. And, I've scaled out my team to include 7 amazing women who I support, who are often actually are people who didn't want to return to traditional jobs, which I absolutely love, much like myself, right? I didn't hate my job. Like my business came out of just demand. And like, I know that that's so, like, I'm so lucky, and I've just built out those expertise, and it's not without trying different things, right? Like I did some social media management for a company that was asking me for help. I've helped companies with their blogging, not necessarily doing the blogging, but helping them execute because it's so closely connected to Pinterest. So I've done all these different things, but ultimately everything comes back to Pinterest for me.
I love it. I'm so glad, because now you can help a lot.
Yeah, let's get to that. How can I help you?
Yeah. So first, what has your experience been like with summits? I know you've been a speaker at quite a few. Have you ever hosted your own, or is it something you might do in the future?
Yeah. So funny that you ask. I'm just going to say it out loud because I think community over competition is best. I've actually been mulling over running my own Pinterest-based summit, because here's the thing that I see happening. And that is that there are a lot of amazing Pinterest strategists out there. We all have different knowledge and different things happening and different things that we love. It might be that they love helping like women in the health industry, or, you know, bigger brands, or they just love running promoted pins, or there's all these different facets of Pinterest marketing. And I firmly believe that there's enough work for everybody. We are stronger and better together. I noticed that when people run summits, they only invite one Pinterest person. There's only ever one Pinterest person. And I was thinking, what an amazing superpower if someone did just a Pinterest marketing summit. Can you imagine? So I've actually been toying with it, and toying with like, what would that look like? What could we offer? How would that benefit people? Would it be overwhelming? You know, basically it'd be like probably the best Pinterest course in the whole world that you could take over a course of 2 or 3 days. So I actually would love to run a summit. I've been invited to participate in several summits. I really like them because I feel like often there's all this complementary knowledge. To me, it's and this is where you come in. Like, I feel like the planning aspect seems very overwhelming. Like, it's a lot to pull together, but I love summits. I love learning, and I love like meeting new people. And also my favorite part is like seeing who else is speaking and getting to know those people. And I've met people who I am now like really close with, and I'd call like biz best pals, that I've been on panels with or summits with. And for me, that's some of the biggest things that I enjoy about summits myself as a user, as a regular person.
I love that you pointed that out too. And I hope all of our hosts listening caught what you just said about you love participating in summits. One of those big things is because of the community aspect and the fact that you get to meet those other speakers. So I think that's something as we as hosts can take away from that. Make sure that our speakers have a chance to get to know each other.
Yeah, that could, and like see how we could collaborate in the future, right? And like get a taste for each other and how that fits together. What I also love, and what I've been like thinking about a lot about in my own business, is like working together and leveraging each other to cross-pollinate each other's audiences. And I think that's just a smart business move. The online world is moving really quickly, and just like real life, sometimes it's like that one relationship that you made, or somebody that you know, why you get an amazing opportunity. And so I know for myself, like I'm always trying to bring people into my world and introduce them to like, you know, people who I love as people and who are so good at what they do. And I want to share that. And that's how we're all going to be successful. We're all going to get there, and we're so much stronger together. Like, just to come back to that idea again, that there's like working together is such a beautiful thing, and collaborating and helping grow each other's businesses, right? Like, I love that.
One of the best parts about summits. I love that we brought that up. But let's dive into Pinterest, shall we? So I have never actually used Pinterest to promote my own summit before. And really, that's because I don't know how. So that's why I'm so excited for this. So walk us through what a successful funnel or promotion for a summit on Pinterest looks like for something that is time sensitive, like a summit, because I know Pinterest is so unique.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that question. So here's the thing, and I've been talking more about this lately on social media, not necessarily about as related to a summit, but I think it's applicable in every way, that when it comes to Pinterest, this is a planning platform. So your runway is much longer than what your runway would be. Like if you're a launch runway, whatever terminology you want to use. But let's just say today we're going to say your launch runway. So your runway on Pinterest has to be significantly longer than it would be on Instagram or Facebook. The people who follow you on those social media platforms or even LinkedIn, they've probably been following you for a while. They've been creeping on your content. They're already sold on the thing that you're selling. But the audience that is on Pinterest, which is huge and very untapped resource. It's still like, I love finding new people who aren't using Pinterest because I can't wait to blow their minds with when it comes to Pinterest. But it's this other huge, massive audience that's planning to take action. So like they're the perfect fit to get in front of, right? Like these are people you should want to get in front of. It's not a matter of like if your people are there, it's how you find them when it comes to Pinterest, because there are definitely people looking, planning, wanting to further their education, learn more, and they're planning that thing, whether it be something personal or something business related. And that's where we as online business owners or people who offer services, whatever, sell digital products, or even just somebody who makes money from content, as from their page views, is that we can help solve those problems and insert ourselves into their lives, into their search when they're looking for these types of answers. And that's what's so cool about Pinterest. But you have to know it's a long game. So if your launch runway is normally like a month or a few weeks on Instagram, it's actually 2 to 3 months on Pinterest. And this is where really having your stuff together pays off, because you need to think, okay, if you're planning a summit that's going to be live in 3 months, what can you do leading up to that? And what that looks like to me is blog posts. It means a lead magnet that's going to invite people in. It's going to be talking about your experts ahead of time. I see a lot of people doing this amazing strategy right now where they're doing blog posts that are like collaborative blog posts. I'm collecting 7 entrepreneurs who are going to share their morning tip with you. And that is the perfect entry point to share. So if you're going to have 7 people speaking about, how to grow your business in 2020 or how to be more productive in your business in 2020, could you ask each of them to contribute 2 sentences about their productivity that they do to keep their businesses functioning, and have that as a blog post leading up, or maybe it's a series of Instagram stories, and say, and guess what? These amazing brains are going to be talking at my summit in 2 months. Get on the wait list now. Get to know them now. And that's where your runway needs to be longer though, because you have to plan that out ahead of time. So I would say look at Pinterest as this evergreen funnel. So bringing people onto your email list, I would say in the online world, the smartest thing to do, because they're warm in the sense that they're looking for your thing or your content, but they don't know who you are, which is a very, very powerful thing. You have the same opportunity as the big guy, because Pinterest, sure, they know who celebrities are, but the difference between maybe the most like you and Amy Porterfield, they actually don't necessarily even know who Amy Porterfield is. We know that she's like one of the biggest names in online marketing, especially in the, women related space. But the reality is that Pinterest is this like equal playing field. And so you can get in front of your ideal audience, let them know who you are. But what you want to do is get them onto your email list so that you can nurture them and get, establish that trust, and then have them want everything that you have to offer. And the way that, if you're having a summit, is that you're building those people who are going to be that warmed up audience that wants your information ahead of time. So that funnel, it looks like creating content. It looks like offering something really valuable. People on Pinterest love high value, just like everywhere else. Offer that, dip their toe into whatever you're going to be teaching. I find that blog posts are the most natural way to do that, but you could also have podcasts, you can have webinars, there's all these things. And as long as it has a landing page, you can create a pin for it. Right. So that's one thing. I think that podcasters are not using Pinterest enough. I know that when I see I love podcast pins, like Jenna Kutcher does them, a few other people do them, and you see it, right? And you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'm going to save that because I want to download that. I haven't downloaded it yet. So it's a great opportunity. As long as you're producing content that's in line with your ideal customers' pain points, you should be sharing that information and building your email list on Pinterest.
You like blew my mind. My face hurts from just like smiling this whole time. And I had to like stop and put my head on my hand for a second there. Like when you were talking about that roundup post.
But that's how I think. So I was a blogger, right? And that's actually why, like, when I work with companies, often companies and people who are like bigger marketing teams, they don't really understand marketing in a genuine way. And I can't help it, but I constantly think in that way. And I think it's because that's where Pinterest is such a natural fit for me, because content comes first. And then Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, podcasts, everywhere, Pinterest, these are all where we share our messaging, and you should be adapting it, but your core content should exist. And in some ways, I think in this modern day, it doesn't have to be a blog post. It could be a podcast. It could be a weekly Instagram live that you're doing, but you should be repurposing that content. So if you're somebody who's into Instagram lives, download it, put it onto a landing page on your website, and allow people to access it. And that's where you you repurpose your content, and that becomes your messaging. I firmly believe though that it should come blog post, translate to all the other things, or podcast. I kind of view them much like blog posts, but and then all your messaging becomes about those things. But I also just am constantly like, how do you reshape an idea to be an email to your list? How do you reshape it to be a blog post? And I think that that's where people want to talk about the product, but for your content marketing to be successful, you wow people through the value of the content and through the idea and the free knowledge. And I think that's where a lot of people don't really understand. And that's why Pinterest doesn't make sense to them.
I'm loving that you're pointing out this longer runway for Pinterest too, because, 2 to 3 months, that's perfect, because I tell everybody, they don't all listen, but I tell them all 90 days minimum to run a summit. So if one of the first things on that list is figure out the name of my summit, figure out a tagline, make some pins, get them going, or, start making content related to that, get it going. That's the perfect timeline. And then when you're talking about that roundup post, I'm going to keep going back to it because it's genius. I have this form that I give people in my membership for hosting summits that when you're onboarding speakers, send them this form to fill out. What if we add one question in there? What's your 2-sentence tip on blank? Boom, you have your roundup post.
Like one summit, or even ask them two, and that's 2 blog posts that you can create. And we all, those are great list builders, especially if you have people can you include one freebie on blank, or like my friend Gemma, she did, what did she ask us to do? What's your favorite? Actually, it was what's your favorite list builder? And she asked 12 of us, and she made it a swipe file that people could download. And it was a fantastic list builder for her, because she took Jenna Kutcher was on there, Tyler McCall, myself, a few other people. It was amazing. And people were like, yeah, I want to know what are these people doing to build their lists? And it was a variety of ideas. But what would be more beautiful is following up with a big thing. So taking those people and taking it a step further. And I think that just thinking outside the box like that is also going to make you stand out and be memorable.
I love this so much. And I'm thinking some people might be thinking okay, I get my blog post going on Pinterest, and okay, people are clicking over to my website. Maybe I get some people to opt into my email list, but how does that translate to summit registrations? And our episode before this with Tony Rulli was all about Facebook ads. And every time you can get someone to click over from Pinterest to your website, even if they don't opt in, is one more person you can start retargeting with Facebook ads. So all of this ties together perfectly. I love it.
So actually that was when I know, you and I kind of talked a little bit about some of the questions, and that was actually going to be something that I was going to lead into, is that, every time, and that is my own strategy as a business owner, is that I know most people need to be, if you are cold, they need to see you, they need to hear from you. They're not going to opt in right away. I think, 7 or 8 touch points before they decide that they want to become part of your email list and follow along with what you have to say. So one of my current strategies that I work very closely with online entrepreneurs or people where their conversion goal is an email lead or sign up is to look at Pinterest as Pinterest is a platform for discovering people. Now, the funny thing is they want to discover you, but they aren't as willing to hand over their email like Facebook or Instagram users, because I feel like Facebook and Instagram feels more personal. So they'll hand it over quicker. So what's the solution? The solution is having all these people finding you, whether it's through organic Pinterest marketing efforts or using paid advertising on Pinterest, and then remarketing them, running a low budget remarketing campaign on Facebook and Instagram to say like, hey, saw that you were interested, or, here's more information. Here's who I am. This is what's going to be taught. And then it's like, oh yeah, that person. And that is like, there's somebody who teaches Scott Olford talks about omnipresence, right? That if you remarket people and they see you and they see the knowledge that you have to offer, and it's not constantly that you're just shoving leads at them or lead magnets, but that you're saying like, here's some free information, here's how I can help you. And you're establishing trust before they even get onto your email list, which is a beautiful thing.
It really is. Okay, we've been like hinting at Facebook ads. I want to talk about promoted pins, which is, for anyone listening who doesn't know, Pinterest's version of paid ads. And I have no idea how they work, but it seems like it could be a great opportunity. I think I ran like one promoted pin for 3 days, literally over a year ago, might have been 2 years ago. So I have no clue. Walk us through kind of what promoted pins look like and if it would be good for something like a summit.
Yeah. So promoted pins, there's a huge shift happening. We all love, and Facebook and Instagram ads are the shiny thing. We know that they can work. It does seem that they're getting harder and harder and harder. Like the game is constantly changing. Things aren't staying the same. So it's like, how do you adapt your paid advertising strategy to keep up with all the changes that have happened on the different platforms? And promoted pins are getting better and better in that they were sort of like, in the beginning, people were curious about them, not sure how they worked. And as time has gone on, I think a lot of people, even Facebook and Instagram advertisers, so people whose entire deal is talking about Facebook ads, are getting into running promoted pins for their businesses, because you can run very successful promoted pin campaigns with extremely limited budgets. So I'm talking $50, $100. And I find actually the campaign manager setup of promoted pins, and maybe this again is because I love Pinterest, so it just makes sense to me. I find them not as complicated to set up. So if you find Facebook or Instagram ads confusing and audience generation and retargeting, I would say really look at promoted pins. Now you also have to have that longer term vision and really know what your conversion goals are, whether it be email sign up, an actual purchase of a physical product or a digital product. Things vary greatly, but you can run very, very, very low cost per acquisition or cost per click campaigns on Pinterest and get leads coming into your world for as low as 12 cents. And what's really amazing is that when you combine it with remarketing on Facebook or Instagram, it is like a paid marketing superpower, because you can bring somebody into your world, have them touch your pixel for 12 cents, and then you remarket them for like 50 cents or 75 cents, and you're getting a lead for $1, which, this is constantly changing, but I was told by a Facebook ads expert that like $6, $5 per lead is pretty normal these days. I know some people have got it down to much lower, like $3, but if you could bring somebody in for a total of $1, now mind you, again, your runway is going to be a bit longer, but people are looking for your information on Pinterest. And what's so beautiful is that the way Pinterest marketing is set up is that it's considered additive and not disruptive. So people who are seeing your ads are searching for those things. It's not just showing up. So they're only seeing your ad because they have a board about social media marketing, because they have a board about running a summit, or they might have done a search how to run a summit. You can have that your pin appears when people are looking for those particular things. So it's considered not disruptive to their user experience, which is really, really powerful as well, right? Whereas other platforms, it's like kind of like in your face, like, you're watching something and then an ad for a car comes up and you're like, what? I was just looking at my friend's baby shower, and now I'm looking at an ad for a car. So it's a funny thing, but I feel like promoted pins has a lot of opportunity. More and more people are wanting to learn how to run them themselves and supplement their traffic and bring people into their world so that they can be discovered. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying to be discovered quicker and for very low cost.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you kind of hinted at it, like on Facebook, when you are setting up an ad, you're saying like what audience you want that ad to get in front of, like my website traffic or people who look like it or people who we'll go with Amy Porterfield, for example. And on Pinterest, are you setting up your ads based on things people are searching instead, like keywords that they're searching?
So you can do several different things. You can do custom audiences. You can do custom audiences like people who, and lookalike audiences, just like Facebook Facebook, where you can retarget people who have interacted with your pins. You can upload your email list. People have gone to your website, and you can create lookalike audiences based on those types of things, or custom audiences. But then what you're doing is you're targeting people's interests. So, or their search keyword terms. So you can do overarching areas, which for niche industries like yours and mine are a little bit harder. But if somebody is like a Instagram expert, that's a bigger area. So you could go under social media potentially, like as a target overarching topic, but then you can also target people who are looking up keywords, how to grow my online business, how to run a summit, how to run an online event, like things that are related. A good example is my own business. So my niche is Pinterest marketing, but I know that people, small business owners who are wanting to learn about online marketing are also my potential customers. So I would be targeting Instagram marketing tips or Facebook marketing tips, or how to grow my business as a blogger, how to increase my page views, those types of things. So you have to sort of think out the box, do your keyword research, and Pinterest will help you. So if you put in the words related to, you have your like cluster of keywords, you put them into the campaign manager, and Pinterest will say, 10,000 people a month look up that term, 1,000 people. And then it will generate what your particular audience is for that campaign. So when you think about if you're going to do promoted pins for your summit, what I would actually look at doing is, again, having that longer runway, promoting content 3 or 2 months before your actual summit. That is your organic marketing. So you're like your blog posts introducing the summit speakers. Maybe it's actually blog posts on the topic or a lead magnet related to the overarching concept of growing your business, or, whatever your topic for your summit is, to promote those organic pins, to have people coming into your world, opting into your email list. And then you can run ads closer to your actual summit that retargets anybody who has interacted with your pins in the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So people who have already interacted with you will see them again. I find that the best thing to do is to have them come into your world and remarket them on Facebook or Instagram, because that's where we nurture, right? Like Pinterest is this sort of impersonal place, right? Like, which is good and bad. But I find have them discover you on Pinterest and then nurture them on your email list, Facebook or Instagram, where they really feel like they can get to know you.
I love that. That makes so much sense. And it makes sense with my experience with it too, because I'll be scrolling Pinterest and all of a sudden see a pin for a summit that was like a year ago. And I'll be like, okay, like, you can't get rid of it from everyone else's board. So do you think like that's a no-no, pinning a pin that promotes your summit directly?
So what would actually be really smart is to make sure that your content throughout the year is evergreen and building and establishing your authority on whatever topic or niche that you're within, but then only run time-limited promoted pins for the actual, if you want to retarget people like the month leading up to your summit, then it be a promoted pin that isn't something that you were pinning 6 months out. So the thing like that, or people do like a giveaway pin where it's so time sensitive. Pinterest does offer the ability, if you work with their like someone on their in their Pinterest for Business advertising team, is that you can do time sensitive pins where they will actually remove the pin afterwards. I know that was an option or feature that was made available to a large corporate entity that I worked with, that they had something that was time sensitive due to legal. Like they only had the ability to share that picture until January 1st. So we had to make sure that it got striked out from Pinterest, but I'm not sure if it's available to regular Joes like you and I, because it's a very, very particular feature. But I would say that's where it makes more sense that your content or your lead magnets that you're running all year long and list building should be evergreen, because then they don't expire. And then if you run promoted pins leading up, it's people who are already familiar with the concept or are very targeted for whatever your niche or industry that you're in.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. This is so much good stuff. I feel like I know what you're going to say, but what is your biggest takeaway you would like everyone to get from what we've talked about today?
I think that understanding that Pinterest is this, I've heard it been referred to as the sleeping giant. It's this massive platform that has a place for everybody. If you have a potential client avatar that is a human breathing body that usually is a woman, Not always. There's lots of men on there too. But if they are a woman, they are on Pinterest, and it's just inserting yourself and strategizing how to get in front of them and how to look at it as this incredibly powerful tool for being discovered and increasing your brand awareness. And know that, like, if you authentically come to the table to share knowledge and educate people, you are going to be useful. And that's what's so cool about summits, right? Like the whole thing, the learning, and we all love learning. And I think that as humans, that's just natural, right? Like learning never stops. And so the way that the online world has worked is that we're now having opportunities to engage and take part in digital summits. And I think that's so beautiful, because it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that you can partake in this learning. And it's an equal opportunity, right? You could have no money. You could be already a successful entrepreneur. Like I said, my business is doing very well and I'm very lucky, but I still want to watch the webinars, because I might hear one thing that a fellow host says, or even a question that somebody attending has, can be like an aha moment for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, great question. And I think that on Pinterest, it's a platform where people are trying to make decisions. So if you offer a solution to somebody, you should be using Pinterest, because it really could also help you get that leg up over your competitor, or just even grow your business in a way that you have dreams of.
I totally agree. Thank you so much for sharing all of this and so freely. And I think we've got so many good ideas beyond just Pinterest. So thanks for that too. My head is just spinning right now. Where can people go to learn more about you and what you offer? And I know you have an awesome promoted pin webinar. So I want to hear about that too.
Sure. So I do have a promoted pin masterclass that I run that I actually just updated. So I have learned an incredible amount over the last while running promoted pin campaigns for myself and for clients. And so I've updated my masterclass just recently. And so I do have that. I'll send a link that you can share with people that they can sign up and watch that for free. And it's a hands-on tutorial about how to set up your first campaign, or if it's not your first campaign, but like yourself, you've run a few or one and you really weren't sure what you're doing. It's like how to really use your time strategically and get the most out of your money and your ad spend. So I do have a promoted pin masterclass that I offer for free, and people can find me at meaganwilliamson.com. I publish regular blog posts. I love content marketing. And you can also find me on Instagram as Meagan A. Williamson. So I share tidbits in my stories. I don't post as frequently on my feed, but I am in my stories every day and trying to help people as much as possible. And yeah, that's probably the two main places that you can find me.
I will link to all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. This was great.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
How incredible was that episode with Meagan? I don't know about you, but her answer to how we should be promoting our summits on Pinterest is something I never would have expected. And I'm so excited to try it out for my next summit. I hope you are too. But thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. For show notes and resources mentioned, head to summitHostHangout.com/039 and be sure to connect with Meagan while you're there. In the next episode, we'll be doing a fun Q&A on promoting your summit, so be sure to tune in for that. Now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit.